The Weird Triangle Dude asks, how did you find the Total Drama series? Pretty simple. Just watched the seasons as a kid and revisited them recently, so now I'm here. What made you want to rewrite aspects of Total Drama? This is kind of a long story, so buckle up, I guess. As I just said, I watched the show when I was a kid, but a couple months ago I was feeling nostalgic and I replayed the Walking Dead Telltale games, as I saw them appear in my game library and I remembered how much fun they were. So I finished replaying the games and I kind of fell back into the loop of watching other YouTubers play the game and came across a YouTuber called Lytro DLC. He made what ifs about the Walking Dead game that I fell in love with. I was always really into choice games, even though I think most choice games are actually kind of a sham. They just have the illusion of choice. But I loved the idea of a story that wasn't concrete and gave the ability to branch out one story into many different things. And once I saw Lytro DLC do it, I fell in love with the idea of actually writing one. And he had a second channel where he also made some on Total Drama, and then that stemmed me to rewatch all the Total Drama seasons for nostalgia as a kid when I used to watch them. So I watched all the seasons and started writing, and I loved doing it, and here I am now. So the short answer is that I didn't really decide to do it. Everything just kind of fell into place. Are you considering writing professionally? This is a good question because I feel like it allows me to finally address that I'm not really a writer in a typical sense. It's really sweet that people say I'm good at this, and I don't think I'm bad, but ultimately I'm writing for a kid's show. Not to belittle anything about the show, but you get that like what I'm doing isn't typically what writers do. I guess writing professionally isn't out of the question for my future, but it's not exactly something I'm super interested in or planning on pursuing. This is just kind of a fun hobby. What are your tips for creative writing? Think bigger. I know this is something that writers say a lot, but get in the mind of the characters and think about what they would think to do in that situation. The way I kind of explain is that I think a lot of writers, shows, think in like a dot to dot story where like a big event and then a big event and then a big event leading to the end, and then they think, okay, how do I connect all these dots to make a coherent story? But because I have no idea what I'm writing and where my story is going to go, it is a dot to line to dot to line to dot, you know? God, that was fucking confusing to explain. The point is that, like, I'm doing it from the beginning to the end. I don't have any idea of what's happening, so I think that's just more fun for creative writing because you can kind of experience it yourself as you're doing it. This also, in my opinion, just makes the writing feel a bit more natural, and the characters don't feel wishy-washy in the way they act, since they always feel established because you're making them established, even if it's doing something you don't like. I like not being able to feel like a character acted super out of character just so something could happen, you know? I don't really like that feeling. What is your favorite Total Drama season? World Tour. The Waxter, beautiful name, asks, who are your top 3 favorite characters to never make the merge? Tyler, Noah, and Brick. Dawn is pretty close up there as well, and I think her character is really unique, but she just didn't have enough time to really establish herself. And conversely, who are your top 3 least favorite characters who did make the merge? Dave, Scarlet, Sugar. All from Pakatu Island, are you surprised? Naiwim, sorry if I mispronounced your name, 2419 asks, which season you like rewriting the most, and which what if you've done is your favorite? I clumped these ones together since I don't really think I can answer the first one yet. Like, I think I would love writing a what if for World Tour pre-merge, figuring out what 3 different teams would do instead of just 2. But since I haven't got a chance to do a what if for World Tour's pre-merge yet, then it feels a bit hasty to say that would be my favorite to write. So I'm going to answer this as what my favorite what if to write so far was, and I think that actually goes to my first one. Even though I don't think it's my best video, I actually think it's my worst. It was the most fun to write since it was my first time doing it. It was really fun to watch all these fun differences and even change/create storylines for the first time. Your favorite finalist? Heather. She truly felt the most deserving of the win. If you could only bring 3 changes in the original story, what would they be? Good question. I think they would be 1. Making Dave normal. It sucks because Dave was actually my favorite character in Pakatu Island until he became a loser who wouldn't accept no. It was interesting to have a normal character slowly lose it around all the weirdos that were in Pakatu Island. And I do think it still could have potentially worked with Dave getting rejected and acting like a loser if they gave him the chance after the fact to grow and admit he was in the wrong. Obviously, I think it'd be better if they just didn't do that, but I understand his character was always designed to be like that teenage boy that can't accept no, but the writers could have used him in a much better way. They could have used him like a message to young boys watching the show that it's okay to feel hurt by rejection, but you still have to respect somebody when they say no. They couldn't even give us that, making him lose it even more in the finales. So I still think the entire character of Dave was so dumb. A lot of people hate the love triangle in World Tour, but personally I would rather change Duncan getting jealous of Courtney not giving him attention on All-Stars, so that Duncan can stay with Gwen. Unpopular opinion, but I think Duncan and Gwen are a way better match than Duncan and Courtney. To me, Duncan and Courtney were always kind of a toxic couple. I don't feel like Duncan ever really liked Courtney for who she was. I feel like he liked the thrill of like making a nice girl bad and then, you know, she's attractive. But I don't feel like he ever figured out who she was and liked her. In fact, a lot of the times it felt like the opposite. He got really annoyed when she was like bossy, which is like Courtney's whole thing. And I think Courtney only liked Duncan because Duncan's, you know, a bad boy. He doesn't follow the rules. He's like trashy. But even then, I don't think she likes who Duncan is at his core. She wanted to change him basically completely in action.
Forgive you, just like I forgave the other 316 minor transgressions I outlined in my letter.
Rewatching it, I always just feel like their relationship was always just built off of like thrill of dating this person, but I don't feel like they actually ever liked each other. Except for in Island. I think Island was good, but everything after Island with action, and then like action special, and then even like beginning of World Tour, all of it just felt kind of gross. I mean, I like Gwen and Trent more than Gwen and Duncan, but that was obviously never going to work by the show's decision, so we're gonna forget that. But I do think Duncan and Gwen actually had a connection. You know, they're both very similar in personality, they're both kind of, you know, more reserved, both a bit more edgy, both kind of into horror stuff. Having Duncan actually have a true love connection with Gwen, where they were compatible but just throw it away, is so unbelievably dumb. I do want to make it clear here that I don't support cheaters. I don't like the way that they started dating. I think that was terrible, but I do think they're a good match. And number 3, I guess I can only change one of the characters' mutations into monsters. I think I would choose to have Ezekiel not become feral, because at least with Dakota's Zord, she was able to like readjust in society and still had Sam, but Ezekiel's story is just downright depressing. It's one of the few parts of World Tour that I just hate, because they never portrayed Ezekiel as a bad guy, like a villain. He was just generally misunderstood, and he became a freak that had nobody. So yeah, pretty messed up. Those are the 3 changes I'd make. NT4328 asks, favorite Total Drama character? I didn't know what this was for me. As I kind of mentioned earlier, I just like kind of recently got back into Total Drama, and I never really had like a favorite character, because I think each character serves very different purposes, so to kind of like judge them broadly of just who I like the most, I don't think I could ever really do that. Like, I couldn't judge every character on the basis of like villain, because some characters just aren't written to be villains, and then like who's my favorite comedic relief? Some characters aren't written to be comedic reliefs. I don't know, maybe I'm just an overthinker and I just can't settle on one. I think there's characters I root against, but I never actually have one like I'm rooting for. I just kind of watch the story and see what happens. But I don't like avoiding questions. That feels like against the entire point of a Q&A, so I tried to kind of figure out a way to deduct what my favorite character was. So to figure it out, I used a website called Bracket Fights, where I found all Total Drama characters and put them into a bracket until I had one at the end. And I did it a couple times with 3 different brackets, and each time Heather won, meaning she's my favorite character. I think I like Heather the most because I personally feel like she had the most growth during the series, and I really love how even after World Tour, she's still bitchy. She doesn't feel like a Disney story, where she becomes a better person and then is suddenly an angel of a human being. Heather just became a better version of Heather, but she's always been her bitchy self, which I really love. Favorite episode? I never really thought of the show as individual episodes. I guess I'd have to go with the first episode of the first season. Even rewatching it now, it still has a nostalgic feel about it. I think the World Tour finale also comes pretty close, because I just really love the face-off of Alejandro and Heather. I think it's a really well done episode. Either one of those two, it's interchangeable. The most unfair elimination in your opinion? I don't know all the screw-overs off the top of my head, but Lindsay's elimination on Island feels like the most bullshit, as there's 2 other people who did not finish, and for some reason, like, people got punished for doing well in the first part by having to compete in an auto-elimination. That entire episode just makes no sense at all. Mylers the Cryo 6799 asks, would you be interested / would it be possible for you to do a Redonkulous Race based what if? I've answered this a couple times in the comments, and the answer is yes. I really like Redonkulous Race, and it would be cool to do a what if for one, but it offers a lot of problems. One is that if I do one for the season that's pretty early, it is really hard to predict how things change, since with the placements the team gets, the show only shows like the first 3 and the last 3, and then just everyone else in between's like, they got this spot, and I don't know how to rationalize it. Like, how am I supposed to explain how the Adversity Twins got past Sharks? There's a lot of times where they just kind of say teams got passings that would seem difficult for those teams, and they don't elaborate. So it becomes really hard to like predict how different teams there would do, because you think they might do bad, but maybe they wouldn't, because there's no like real guideline of what's good and bad for a challenge. Also, you mentioned the size of the cast increasing greatly, and you're right. That means there's a lot more dynamics to figure out. So the answer is yes, I want to, but it's probably not going to happen for a while until I feel confident I could do one without getting stressed. Nanya asks, what's your favorite animal? I don't know. I like cats. Red pandas are pretty adorable. Also, I think capybaras are really cool to be so chill that they can just hang out with alligators. Girly Dreams 5597 asks, would you ever do all TD seasons your way, like rewriting the whole season with different eliminations and storylines? That's not really something that's appealing to me. The point of my videos is to explore many different paths that one single change can have. And if I create a my way, it almost feels like I'm saying, hey, every other what if I made is dumb and not canon to me. This is the one that matters, and then this is the real one, which is not my goal. Like, ideally what I want for the future is I have like 10 what ifs for every season, and then people can argue about which version of the season they find the most appealing. So no, I don't think I'd ever see myself doing that. Also, Sadie or Katie. Man, I don't know. What do I base that off of? They're the same character. You could say either one, I wouldn't care. They're the same to me. Actually, I'll go with Sadie because I think she's the one who said this, but it's one of my favorite lines in the show.
Oh my gosh, Katie, look at that butt!
Havoc Rogers 1801 asks, what if ideas do you not like for Total Drama? This is a tough one to fully answer. I guess the general ones I don't like are just ones that like change a character or have an event happen and then make it so the event still happens but then people act uncharacteristic. That's confusing. I'll use my first video as an example actually. So originally my very first video ever was going to be what if DJ did not quit action, but I ended up changing it because whenever I first do a what if, I try to rationalize like how I get there. So with that what if, I'd have to rationalize how DJ wouldn't quit, and I just realized like he wouldn't. There's no way to not do that. DJ's too nice, so in a world where he had an alliance with Chef and he felt like he was cheating, he would have quit no matter what. So like, that's the kind of what if ideas that I don't really like. If like we get to an end result or like really late into the season where all the dominoes have been set up, but then you just change it. Like we just have a 180 out of nowhere. Like the main what if idea that I see a lot that correlates with that is what if Scarlet didn't go crazy in Pakatu Island. I love that idea. I wish it didn't happen, but the problem is that nobody ever like does it in a way where before it happens, they always just say like Scarlet wouldn't do it. And that doesn't make sense because it's Scarlet's character. As dumb as it is for what she did, it's what she did and it's who she is. I can't really like rationalize just getting to that point and then just saying, no, Scarlet wouldn't do that. I don't really like doing that for what if because I just feel like at that point the character becomes too fluid and then I don't really know how to write for them moving forward. And also another caveat with that is like, I don't like what ifs that are just straight up like, you know, what if DJ wasn't nice? What if so-and-so was a villain? What if so-and-so was smart? Things with changing characters or making them act uncharacteristic are the sort of things I don't really like. Have you always been so observant when it comes to things? Nope. What tier list do you use? Glad you said this. A lot of people ask me. I'm probably going to start putting it in the description of my videos just because people ask me so much. The tier list I use isn't even that complicated. Just go on tiermaker.com, search up Total Drama characters, and then it's the fourth result right here. And I feel like a big thing I should mention is the tier list I use doesn't actually come with the episodes pre-made. I usually just get the tier list, I have all the character images already there, and then I just create tier lists with the episode names. I think some people assume that it's like a pre-made for the season. It's not. I just make it before my what if and then I go, it's not that bad. How old are you? I am 17 years old. What's your favorite change that you made from a what if? I don't know, I feel like it's not a sort of thing that I think about too much when I make changes. I mean, there are things like I do that I'm happy with, but it's generally like when I make a change, I make it and then it's kind of like a audience thing, you know, like once the video goes up, then people decide, you know, what changes they liked a lot. Like the one of Alejandro and Sierra and Island, people were really big on the idea of Justin and Katie, but while writing it, I wasn't really like thinking about it too much. I wasn't really like, go Justin Katie. Justin Katie's really cute. It's gonna be really cool. It's genuinely just like there were two characters that weren't doing anything and I thought they had merit to do something, so I decided to make them do something. I don't know what's my favorite change. I guess that one, just because I really don't like Katie and Sadie. They're probably two of my least favorite characters, but to actually give them something to do and like sculpt their characters in ways that I actually could tolerate, that was a fun challenge for me. So yeah, what's your favorite and least favorite Total Drama character? Again, I didn't actually know who my least favorite character was, so I went on bracket fights again, used the same tier list, except I was advancing the people I like less, and Dave won multiple times, and I feel like that's self-explanatory. I hate him more than people like Stacy, Beardo, Leonard, because they were all people that were designed to be early boots. Like in my opinion, it's fine that they were annoying because at least there was a way to make them an early boot that makes sense without having to give them too much screen time. So I don't hate those characters necessarily because they fulfilled what they were supposed to do. But watching Dave slowly become the worst character was so much worse because, as I said earlier, I do think he was pretty enjoyable to me for like the first 5 episodes, with a couple bad moments here and there, but then he just quickly went downhill and became downright awful. Have you ever seen Disventure? Are you the guy who's been... I'm not sure if you're the person that keeps asking about this. Oh, you are. Havoc Rogers has been asking me in a couple of my videos if I've seen Disventure Cap, and I have watched it since I saw his comment, and I think it's a pretty cool fan-made project. I wouldn't be opposed to doing what-ifs for it, but there would have to be, 1, enough demand for me to do it, and 2, I'd probably also just want to contact creators to make sure they're okay with it, because I don't really like the idea of capitalizing on fan-made projects, spend a lot of time on seeing to like kind of like get my own views from it. I don't really like that so much. Creators were okay with it and people wanted to see it, then I'd totally be fine doing what ifs for that fan made project, since I do like the season. So I guess comment down below if you want to see what ifs for this venture camp, and then also comment a what if idea and I might do one. There's no way I'm gonna say this name right. Lysanderlon Shadow 8653 asks, what's the most fun for you in the process of creating and posting a video? Whether the writing, editing, syncing of possibilities, the interaction of your followers, seeing the feedback, etc. Definitely posting and then watching the comments come in. It's a really rewarding feeling to create something and send it out to the world and then just wait to see how people perceive it. There's always a little bit of self-doubt when I click upload, just thinking, oh, this is the one where everyone hates it and calls me terrible and they all unsubscribe. But once the comments start to come in, it's all worth it. Writing is a close second, but honestly it's stressful sometimes, and it's definitely the longest part of my process, so it can get kind of annoying. Ivan Valdez 9323 asks, do you plan on doing other series on another channel or stick to Total Drama? I mean, maybe like way down in the future, but for now, no. That isn't in my sights since I don't even know whatever kind of show I would do for this, since other shows are a lot harder to do this for, and I'd basically have to start over getting a new audience that likes whatever show I do it for, because you are here because you are a Total Drama fan. So if I did what ifs for a different show, then I'd have to get a new audience that enjoys that show. That's all just way too much. So I'm just sticking to Total Drama what ifs for now. Who's your favorite and least favorite villain in Total Drama? Alejandro is the perfect amount of villain with personality. My only complaint is that for the first like 12 or so episodes of World Tour, he felt too perfect. I don't really like villains that feel untouchable all the time, because then they just feel unrealistic. But luckily as the season progressed, he got even out in perfect moments and even weaknesses of Heather and real emotions, so it ended up working out. And for least favorite, I don't know if they really qualify as an actual villain, since they felt more like a comedic act, but Scarlet is the dumbest execution of an under the radar villain. She had a lot of potential to be interesting and they threw it all away in one horrific episode. Is Total Drama your favorite cartoon? If not, then what is it? Kind of threatening there at the end, but okay. No, Total Drama is not my favorite cartoon. Gravity Falls is probably my favorite cartoon that I grew up with, as I feel like it kind of helped create my personality and sense of humor. Also, more recently, BoJack Horseman is a fun one I've been watching, but it's really depressing, so don't watch that if you want to have a good time. Ace Marky Kisser asks, any characters you would rewrite, like missed opportunities? A lot of characters, in fact I already have. I feel like an important caveat that people often forget with this is that the spotlight cannot be on everybody at once. And that's something I see a lot when people are like, I rewrite a certain characters, that people are like, I want this character that I like to do well. It can't be everyone's season at once. If I'm giving some people more development, then that means naturally some people can't get more development. Total Drama is an elimination based show and there's always gonna be early boots. I think the way I kind of like visualize it is look at, okay, first of all, slight spoilers for my what ifs, but look at my what if Ezekiel wasn't sexist video and then what if Alejandro and Sierra were an island video. And then look at Gwen. Gwen in the first one wins the season, and in the second one, she's the fourth boot. She gets a lot more development in the first season than she does in the second one, but then also look at someone like Justin. Justin in the first one is the fourth boot, and in the second one, makes it a lot further in the P-merge and gets a lot more development. Like there's always going to be a trade-off. If some people make it further, other people will naturally not. So the short answer is that there's a lot of missed opportunities, but you can't always take an opportunity just because it's there, because it has unintended consequences. It's obviously different to what I'm doing. I'm a what if writer, so if there's an opportunity, I take it. But like if you're writing a normal season and you give one character more development and they stay longer, someone else has to lose development. That's a trade-off you always have to keep in mind. Tiny River 97 asks, have you watched the newest TD season? I never got a chance to see the new season before all the leaked episodes were taken down, nor did I really try that hard to look for them. Once I actually see the season, I most likely will do what ifs on it, as I've seen from a couple fan blogs, fan sites, that it's apparently a pretty good season. But obviously I can't do a what if for a season I have not seen yet, so yeah, just wait for that, I guess. Meat_Vapor asks, would you ever do any continuations of your what if videos? Like when you change one thing in a season, how it affects the next season, like with Ezekiel not being sexist due to his relationship with Duncan and Duncan kinda being on the back burner in the universe, with Bridget and Jeff taking main focus. Interesting to see how the affect actions completely changing games instead of Ezekiel for people who made it especially people like he made a second reply to also saying more. I get what you're saying, and it's cool that you went into an entire commentary of continuation just on one of my what ifs. This question was asked before I already did a continuation video, so the fact that that continuation video is out probably already answers your question. But yeah, I'm totally open to doing continuations. I think it's cool to continue on the story. The main thing is that there needs to be a demand. I'm just gonna really do one for a season that doesn't really have demand. If I did a continuation of a what if, that video is going to be less popular than the video before it, because that's just naturally like you had to have seen the other video to watch it. So it's like I'd be spending a lot of time on a video that wouldn't do as good as his first one. And the only time I'd ever do that is if the first one did really well. Like, what if Alejandro and Sierra were an island is my most popular video, so I'm definitely going to do a continuation of that one at some point. EricLin9541 asks, if you could recast All-Stars, who would be in it? Honestly, I'm not sure. It depends if we're keeping the same number of people, which is way too small for an All-Stars cast. Personally, I think All-Stars happened too soon. Since Revenge of the Island only had 6 people make the merge, to do an All-Star season of them is too little, and then you just have people there who don't belong there, like a certain somebody. Sam. I guess the easy choices are just I'd replace Sam with Brick and Sierra with Lashana and call it a day. I am a Nephew asks, what season would you like to see in the future? What themes, what cast, and who would win? This again circles back to a while ago when I said I'm not really a writer, and this is what I mean, like, that's what a writer would do, you know? Like a fan fiction writer would make a season with all those parts of it, but I don't really do that. I don't really have ideas for that. I don't really want to do that. And I'm sure that there's like themes and ideas that would interest me. Really, that's like, again, a question for an actual writer who's doing that. Sable Ye Master 8008 asks, when did you start watching Total Drama? I don't know the year or age. I couldn't tell you. Maybe like 2013? Possibly? I'm not sure. Bread771 asks, any other TD YouTubers you'd collaborate with? I guess? Maybe? I don't know. I'm assuming that you mean I'd go on their channel, since my content isn't really something anyone could collab with me on, unless I had someone else read my notes, which isn't a terrible idea actually, for like a change of pace doing a longer what if. Also, I think my voice is pretty bad and gets all over the place, so maybe with that, but I don't feel like that's collabing as much as me like hiring somebody to voice over my stuff, which is odd. I don't know if this is obvious yet, but I'm not really like that big of a Total Drama fan, which is odd for my channel. I only recently started like getting to the fandom and stuff once my channel started to get consistent views, but I didn't like follow the show throughout the years like a lot of people have, which is surprising. I didn't even know that the spin-off Redonkulous Race existed until I was rewatching all the seasons like 6 months ago. I'm open to collaborating with people, but it would have to be a thing where I knew the person in advance, or at least got to meet them first. So the short answer is, if someone offered to collaborate with me and like told me what I'm gonna do, I'd consider it, but I'm not working towards that idea of collabing for anybody since my content just isn't really for that, and I don't really think I have like a big enough presence or reason to be on anyone else's channel. Pizza Eating Boy 2701 asks, why did you want to become a YouTuber? Why specifically a Total Drama YouTuber? Were you ever doing a channel with different type of videos? Kinda answered this earlier. Everything just kind of fell into place. I never even like made my first what if with the intention of uploading it to YouTube. I was just writing notes because it was fun to do, and once it was finished I was just like, doesn't hurt to put it on YouTube, and then it did well, and then I continued. And yes, I had channels before this one with different types of content, but none of them did well, and I eventually gave up on them. Mariecraft6969 nice asks, fave canon ship? Keep in mind I'm doing this answer based off the chemistry of the pairs, not how much I actually like the people in the ship, and I'd probably choose the Goths from Redonkulous Race. I like them the most because in my opinion they have the healthiest relationship of anyone we've ever seen on the show, and we got to see them work together as a couple, but they also showed that they could have grown past each other's flaws in the rock and roll episode where they became un-goth but still wanted to continue loving each other, and that was really sweet to watch. So yeah, I think they're just my favorite to watch as a couple. Fave non-canon ship. I'm not really like involved with shipping fandoms or things like that. I think it's kind of weird. Sorry. I don't look at them, and I literally could not name any fan-made ships. Off the top of my mind, I can only think of like ones that are like teased in the show slightly. Like I know Scott and Dawn, Brick and Joe, Katie and Sadie. Those are all I really know. I think I go with Sammy and Topher here, just because I did a what if on them, and I do think they work pretty well as a couple. Since they're opposites of each other, they have the opportunity to bring out what the other person needs. Sammy needs to be more confident, so she can get that from Topher, and Topher needs a bit of an ego check, which he can get from Sammy. And after I made that video, people told me in the comments that it's actually canon that Sammy had a crush on Topher, and I think that's pretty cute. Characters you think deserve to win. Lindsay from Action is someone I think should have won. I do think Courtney deserved at least one season where she should have won, given how popular she is. Favorite TD what if YouTuber? And I try not to watch other people's what ifs because I always worry that if I watch a what if that I plan to do, that I would subconsciously steal ideas from their videos, which I definitely wouldn't want to do. I mentioned Lytro Storm earlier, and I think his quality of videos are much better than mine. I'm probably going to link his channel in the description because I've been mentioning him a lot, so yeah, check him out. Also like to say a YouTuber by the name of Zoe. She's someone who tagged me in one of her videos a while back, and I watched her version of What If Ezekiel Wasn't Sexist after I finished mine, and I really like the feel of her channel. So yeah, check her out if you have the time. I'll probably also link her in the description. Extra Mal asks, what do you think is the worst season? A lot of people are betting on two big horses in this race, All-Stars and Pakatu Island. Personally, I think All-Stars is worse. Even though Pakatu Island is a train wreck of a season, I do think it's actually like a fun bad, you know? It's like bad movies. They're entertaining to watch. It's a bad season, and if you go into the season not expecting it to be good, it's actually pretty enjoyable. But All-Stars, it's just they shit on all of our beautiful childhood memories, all these amazing characters, and make it all terrible. So I definitely think that season's worse. Cool Foldy 9956 asks, do you think all of Lindsay's eliminations were unfair? Looking at it from the canon world, action is unfair because she did it to herself, even though it's obviously just a writing thing, but if we're basing it off like actual characters, then that's on her. Also in All-Star she quit, so I guess that wasn't unfair. But in World Tour she got screwed over considering she was gonna win the challenge and then lost it to DJ, and then DJ got to stay. Then in Island, as I said earlier, is probably the most unfair elimination in the entire show. Underscore Yule asks, tell us about yourself a little bit. Well, here's my credit card. Jordan Smith 4181 asks, do you like to read in your free time? I guess this question is coming from the fact that people see me as a writer, but no. I wish I could dedicate myself to reading, but I get bored really easily. Definitely gonna mispronounce this name. Khalid Al-Matiri. Sorry. Will you make a face reveal? No. I don't see a point really. My channel isn't really about me, if you get that. I understand that people watch my channel for my take, but like, let me explain it like this. If you didn't like my style of content, but you were a Total Drama fan, I feel you could still enjoy one of my videos. Meanwhile, if you liked my type of content or liked me, but you weren't a Total Drama fan, I really see it impossible to enjoy my content. And there's nothing wrong with that. My content is directed for that. But it's like, ultimately, I don't really matter in the video itself. It's kind of like my videos are movies and I'm a director. While you're watching a movie, you don't think every 10 seconds about the director, you focus on the story in front of you. I don't feel like there'd ever be a reason to do a face reveal. I don't think anyone watching my channel right now would see my face and then suddenly like my content more. Madison Victoria asks, are you in university/college? If so, what are you studying? I mentioned earlier I'm 17, so no. But I do plan to go to college and major in psychology. Favorite video game? I grew up on the Left 4 Dead franchise. I recently started replaying the Fallout games, and Splitgate is a really easy game for me to play without having to think, which is nice to have. Like after making a video or a long day, I can play Splitgate, but I don't have to really apply myself. Those are my favorite games as of right now. Top 3 favorite films of all time. Now see, I didn't really know my favorite films, so I did the only reasonable thing to deduct what my favorite were. I put every single movie of all time in a bracket fight to figure out what my favorite— no, I'm joking. The Breakfast Club, Mulan, and Accepted. How would you describe in real life aesthetic? Either in general or specific clothing? Literally could not say. I'm not involved enough with like fashion to know style names or whatever. Recently I have started again to like dressing myself decently, but there isn't really like a theme to what I do. I just wear what I feel pairs well. Wannabe GM asks, any tips for smaller creators trying to grow on YouTube? I feel like I'm not the right person to ask this. I think I, in a certain case, got really lucky to get pretty popular pretty quickly. Like 3,000 subscribers is way more than I ever envisioned myself having. But for some advice, I think it's important that you try to figure out what kind of audience you're going for. In my case, I'm clearly appealing to Total Drama fans, which is why I try to make my brand very easy to see that. My name is TD Wanderer, TD as in Total Drama, and in all my titles I have the abbreviation for season name. So if you stumble across my videos and you're a Total Drama fan, you instantly know my content's related. And I think that's important when creating a channel, to have your brand very recognizable. Also, something I see a lot of people not do very well on is thumbnails. I'm not trying to call anybody out in specific, obviously. I'm not saying my thumbnails are like Michelangelo paintings, but thumbnails are really important for getting people to click on your videos. The general rule of thumb for thumbnails is that somebody should be able to look at your thumbnail and have at least a pretty good idea of what your video is going to be on. Without even reading the title or your name or your channel, they should be able to look at your thumbnail and instantly say, okay, this is what this video is going to be about. Thumbnails really are the window shopping of your channel. You need to have it look interesting. You need to have it in a sense where people want to click on it. Also, just like editing helps so much. I see some people just upload like 40-minute clips of like no cuts. That doesn't really work for current generation YouTube, you know? Napoleon 144 asks for a video explaining how you make your notes. Now, I don't really feel the need to make an entire video on that since it isn't too complicated. First off, I go to the tier list and I create all the tiers I'm going to need for the what if. Team names or no team names if I have to merge, episode names, and also if I'm doing a what if like halfway into a season, I still like to have all the people who were eliminated before, just that way once I'm done with the what if I can like scroll through and everyone can see all the eliminated people. Then I go into notes, I copy and paste the episode names, then I find the season for the what if I'm doing on YouTube and I rewind watch all the episodes in double speed while having the notes app open and taking notes of anything that would change because of the what if I'm doing. Then I just record myself reading over the notes and working on the tier list, and then edit it. That's the entire process to my video. Isn't super complicated. And that's it for the Q&A. I really appreciate if you stuck by to watch this video. I know this isn't typically my type of content. That's why I'm doing it. I'm not expecting to get a ton of views, but I just want to try and do something nice for the community to like show I watched you all and see what you say. I feel like as I grow more, I kind of grown a bit more distant from the community, which I don't like, but I just generally like I haven't had as much time to interact with you all as much as I want to. I know I've said it a bunch, but really I cannot say it enough. Thank you all so much for being so considerate during my time of demonetization. Especially in this post, you notice many times I highlight the question specifically because most of the comment is being very nice about me being demonetized, so I just want to focus on the questions. But I really do appreciate the support all of you give me. And if you're currently watching this video, I'm probably not demonetized anymore, so yeah, I'm gonna get back in schedule a bit. Bye.